everybody, welcome to the FIMS webinar. I'm going to go ahead and get my slides pulled up, and we will get started in just a couple minutes. So while you're coming in, feel free to introduce yourself in the chat box. Let us know where you're coming from and what your weather's like. I don't know about you. It's a little bit hot here. I'm in North Carolina. So we'll get started with our introductions and everything on our end here in just about a minute. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and start with introductions. You will see on our slide that it says Robyn and Amy, and I am very obviously not Amy, but this is our standard slide. So for those of you who haven't met me yet, which I think is probably almost everyone, my name is Christine Robertson. I'm Services Manager here at NPact. I also do a lot of our behind the scenes work with webinars, and I do webinars for other tools such as Razor's Edge. And I was asked to step in this week and help host with Robyn on this webinar because Amy is taking a much deserved vacation. So Robyn, I'll pass the mic to you, let you introduce yourself.
Good morning, everybody. This is Robyn. Not sure what to say exactly because I've probably spoken to most of you at some point, but welcome to this month's edition of Let's Talk Solutions.
Great, thank you. So today's agenda, just a brief overview. We are going to be looking at your interfund recommendations from DonorCentral to other funds in your organization, adding the appropriate grantee information to DonorCentral so that donors and advisors can make interfund recommendations, and processing interfund recommendations once it's been imported into FIMS. And with that, I am going to pass the microphone over to Robyn because she knows so much more about FIMS than I do. Robyn, take it away.
Thanks, Christine. Let me share my screen with all of you. Okay, so at this point, you all should be able to see my FIMS. All right, so today's topic is using the Interfund module, but allowing your donors to make Interfund recommendations from DonorCentral. So a little bit of background first off. So in order to make a recommendation to a fund within your organization, that fund needs to have a profile record, just like any other grantee record or profile in your database. So if you look at my profile module right here, you will see that I have created profiles for my funds. And the interesting thing is what I have done to make it easier on myself so that I can see which profiles are interfund profiles for the funds is in the sort name, I've put a capital IF. So when I sort by the sort name, they're easy to see. So I have a profile for my Abigail MacArthur Hunt Fund, Blessings in a Basket, Hurricane Relief Fund. These are all profiles for funds in my database. So that has to be set up first. In actuality, this is what I also recommend if you're just doing interfund transactions through your FIMS. If you're not getting interfunds through DonorCentral, if you're just processing them internally, this is a best practice recommendation for interfunds also. Now, one other thing that needs to take place. So both the donor fund and the grantee fund need to have a profile. In addition to that, you need to assign an affiliation code to the grantee profile that you create. So, for example, the Hurricane Relief Fund, that's a grantee profile that I have created. And if you look at the affiliations tab, you're going to see that there is an affiliation called SC for Suggestion Central. SC for Suggestion Central is what I have created to tell FIMS that this profile is a profile I want to upload to Donor Central. So it's available to the donors when they click the drop down and are searching for charities, grantees to make recommendations to. If you're not sure what your affiliation code is for this, that you can find it under Tools, System Utilities, Donor Central, Donor Central Options. And if you go to Suggestions under the section, the very last one in the middle is called Upload Grantee Affiliation. Whatever you have under this value column, which is my SC, that's telling me that any profile that has the affiliation code SC is going to be uploaded to Donor Central. So those are a couple things. The profiles need to be in place and the affiliation code needs to be assigned to the grantee profile that's going to be uploaded to Donor Central. So let me bring over my Donor Central and we're going to go into Donor Central and we're going to make a recommendation, an interfund recommendation. Okay, so I have logged into Donor Central and I'm logged in as a donor. I have administrator privileges, which means I can make recommendations. And the profiles that we're going to be using today, the Hunt Fund is going to be my donor, and the Grantee Fund is the Hurricane Relief Fund. So if I go to recommendations and go to new, I can search by a prior recipient or just a recipient that I might not have granted to before. So let's see. All right. So I started typing hurricane relief. Now my profiles, I always put interfund profile at the end just so I don't forget that I'm using this for an interfund. But if you don't want to put the interfund in the name, you certainly don't have to. So I'm going to choose the Hurricane Relief Fund interfund profile and click on next. Here I'm going to choose my fund. So the Hunt Fund is going to be the donor fund. So that's where my money's coming from. And this is the standard recommendation that anybody's going to see. There's nothing different in here just because this is an interfund. It works the exact same way. So I'll still need to go through, put in a grant amount. And depending on what you have for fields, I just happen to have program name, grant purpose. I have several other fields that I have added here. So I'm going to click on next. And then my last step of my grant recommendation is the agreement where I click on I agree. I'm going to review my recommendation. So here it is. Here's my Hurricane Relief Fund coming from the Hunt Fund for $500. And I'm going to submit this. So this process here that we're looking at is exactly the same as any other recommendation that needs to be submitted. Recommendation confirmation goes to the donor. Somebody in your organization will get CC'd depending on who has been defined. And This is also visible on DonorCentral. So if they come in and they look at their homepage for that particular fund, they'll be able to see that it's out here as pending, and it will be visible under grants. So exactly the same way DonorCentral works, it's just going to be using an interfund profile. So all right, so the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to import that recommendation into the grant module. So if I go to grants, and I need to make this a little bit smaller because I can't see my button. Okay, so here's the little button to import my grants from DonorCentral. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. Okay. All right, I have one new suggestion, which is the recommendation that I just made. So I'm going to say okay. And here is my recommendation. So the donor that I logged in as was Mr. and Mrs. Donor Advisor. I know, not very creative, but and then all of the information that I put into that recommendation form is here as well. So I'm going to right click on this and say create application. And then your default application entry value screen pops up. So whatever you fill in any of these fields is going to automatically populate your grant application that's going to be created in the grant module. So I'm going to leave this as is. And I'm going to create this for my current record. Here's my special handling. So if you have a special handling set up for any of these funds, they're going to pop up so you can still see them. And my application was created. So now if I look in the grant module, I'm going to close my import window. Here's the grant module. I'm going to go to applications. So now I have an unposted application sitting in grant applications, and you're probably thinking, well, how the heck is she going to turn this into an interfund through the interfund module? All right, so the first thing I want to do is I want to review this and make sure that everything is updated. So I'm going to mark this as approved. So here I have my grantee profile, and then the Hunt Fund is the one that's actually paying that. So you can see here in my fund ID. You can, if there isn't anything in the program name field, you can add that. What I also recommend doing is under general coding is creating a code. I created a code here. Donor advised, DonorCentral, interfunds. You can create whatever code you'd like, but this will allow you to run reports. And at the very end, I'm also going to show you a data grid view that I created where I have filtered out any interfunds that did not come from DonorCentral. And it actually shows both sides. It shows the gifts and the grants. So this is going to allow you to filter um, in that data grid view. All right. It also has my information, just like any other recommendation. It has the donor advisor that made the recommendation, which is important to have. So the next piece of this is we're going to go to the gift module and we're going to create the other half of this transaction. So essentially what we're doing is we're creating these separately, kind of like a blast from the past years and years ago. This is how we created interfund transactions. We had to create them separately. So I'm going to go to the gift module. And I got to make this a little smaller here. So I'm going to go to unposted gifts and I'm going to create an unposted gift. Now, the donor in this case is the Hunt Fund. So the ID code, when I go do my search, where I'm going to put in the IFC, I'm going to be able to see here's my profile for my donor fund. So we now have the Interfund profile here, and I have a short-term memory. So let's see, what was this dollar amount for? I think it was $500. So let's put in $500, today's date, and the fund it's going to, the actual fund, is the Hurricane Relief Fund, where the money is going to go. So here's my fund lookup, and because I'm on the fund field, okay. So I can go ahead and save this. So at this point, I have, let me go back to my default view here. Here's my July 9th, and that's today. Let me just go back to my grant module. Yes, it was $500. Okay, so right now, what we've done is I have an unposted gift, which is going to turn into my interfund gift, and that gift number is 380. And then the grant number for the other half of this is 20240012. This is going to be important because we are actually going to go into the Interfund module and we are going to link this gift and this grant, and then it will be visible in our Interfund module. So let me pull up the Interfund module. And at the very top, under file maintenance, really the only item we have under file maintenance for interfunds is link, unlink existing gifts. So now the grant number, now this is the really important piece. Do not post, edit and post that gift that you created or the grant that you imported. Because if you do, you're not going to be able to link it in the Interfund module. You can only link unposted gifts and grants. So I'm going to pull up my number, my grant number. It's right here at the very top. And then I'm going to pull in my gift number, which is 380, which is right here. And I'm going to click on the button that says link. So this actually, I'm going to slide this out of the way for a second. This actually put my entry, actually, sorry, I can't do that. You can see that I have two interfunds unposted right now. The second one is the one that it just created. But the second piece of this here is, how are you going to pay this? Well, I'm not going to print a check. I'm just going to do an automatic payment. So FIMS creates that payment piece for me. And I'm going to use the grant number because I'm not actually printing a real check. But the nice thing about it is it will create a payment record with the grant number so I can always see which payment was used to pay this particular interfund. And then the default description is link utility, but you could put another description in here as part of that. And I'm going to say, okay, payment number, payment date. Oh, I need to put my date in. Okay. So now you get a little window that says this process has been completed. Your interfund transaction number is 12 when it linked the two together. Tells me just like in a regular interfund transaction, this is my grant number, this is my gift number, and I am done at this point. So now, if we look, you're going to see my number 12. This is the interfund that I just created. So you can see the application, program name. Here's my request type on the application itself. I still have my donor advisor as the recommender here under the contact tab. And then if we look at the other piece of this, actually, let me go back here. So I can see the description. It added the description just like it does when you're doing a regular interfund. And then on the gift side, I can see the gift along with the description. Now, like any other interfund transaction, if you need to change the general ledger component, you can. If you need to change GL accounts for the application, you need to wait till the grant voucher gets over to accounts payable. So at this point, if everything looks okay, you can go ahead and edit and post. And I'm going to edit and post this. And I'm only going to do the one I did today. I have to make this a little smaller here. So apparently I missed something. So hold on 1 second. I'm going to post them both. All right. So here is my interfund report. So first step is posting the interfund. And what this is going to do is it's going to post it into the interfund module, just like the editing and posting does if you're in the gift module. It posts to the gift module first before it sends transactions to general ledger or to accounts payable and then general ledger. So this has both the gift and the grant pieces in the same report. So I'm going to go ahead and post this. All of my modules are active, which is important because I want all this to go to general ledger. And let me make this smaller. Okay, so my interfund in the interfund module has been posted. And then I have the other components of this. I need to edit and post my gift in general ledger. And here's my posting to general ledger. And I can close these two. And then the last step of this is going to be editing and posting through accounts payable. So here's my AP edit list and then post items. So if you needed to make a change to any of these GL accounts, you would actually need to go into the unposted accounts payable grant voucher, make the change, and then come back here and post your items. So it is possible. You just need to do it before you post. So this is actually creating a payment record and everything for me because I said I wanted an automatic check to be created. And everything is posted all the way through to general ledger at this point. Now, I'm going to go back to my interfund module for a second here. And the interfund that I actually did today didn't post. And the reason being is that I must have a flag set that says, put these applications on hold. So if you notice that your interfund doesn't come up, the application, the grant application might be coming across as on hold and you can't post anything with it being on hold. So that would be a reason for that. Now, does anybody have any questions about any of these pieces before I move to the data grid view or comments? Okay. All right, then the next piece that I'm going to show you is you can actually create a data grid view that displays both sides of the interfund transaction. You're not going to do it in the interfund module. You're going to do it under inquiries, dynamic data grid. So this is going to pop up a view settings window similar to what you would see if you were in the gift module or the profile module. The only difference is I can create views in here for any of the tables in the database that I have access to. So I'm going to scroll down to my interfund table, which is where I created the view. And it works just like the regular custom data grid views. You have to make sure that you link to the tables that you want to pull information from. So in this case, it's the last option I'm linked. I can pull data from the interfund table, gift history, profile, application history, the donor record, and the fund. So now I'm going to go to my columns. And before I do that, I'm going to actually run this. So instead of saying generate like you would in the module, we're going to run report. And if I make this bigger so you can see this. So what I have done is I've created the interfund transaction number. That's the number that was linked. And if you notice, my number 12 is missing because I didn't post it. It gives me the interfund grant number, the interfund grant date, the interfund grant amount, the fund ID for the interfund grant, along with the ID code of the grantee and the grantee's name. And if I keep scrolling across here, I have the interfund gift number, along with the interfund gift date and the interfund gift amount, along with the ID code of the donor, interfund profile for the donor, the donor's name, and the fund for the gift fund. So if you look at this, my grantee is really the profile for the gift fund. So this is something that you can create. If anybody would like help creating this, now this is good. I used it for today's session so that I could show you the interfund recommendations from DonorCentral, but this is also a great way to just see interfunds, the full, both sides of the interfunds. And the only thing that it would take to change that so that you could see all interfunds is just to remove the selection criteria. So I created this today saying I only wanted to see grants that had that request type of interfunds from DonorCentral. So not a lot of pieces, pretty much most of the same things you're probably doing for regular interfunds now, except you do need to create separate profiles for the donor fund and the grantee fund. Any questions about any of this? Okay. Um, there is a handout. I put together a handout. The only thing I didn't include was the data grid, but if you are interested in creating that data grid view, I'd be more than happy to help you. Just put in a support case, and I will get back to you quickly to help you create this. But along with the recording, you're all going to get a copy, the basic information of what we covered today, on how to set everything up. So thanks everybody for joining, and I'm going to turn this back to Christine.
All right, great. Thank you guys so much. Um, Gonna go ahead and just let you know, Robin's already given you a bit of information about what to do if you have questions. I would also strongly encourage you, if you need anything, reach out to Amy Strom. Her email address will be in the slides. You can use some of our other inboxes, but I think reaching out to our support desk or to an individual is always the best way to go. And also wanted to just make sure I let you know that we do have another Let's Talk Solutions coming up in September of 2025. So keep an eye out. If there's anyone at your organization who wants to be invited to these and who isn't, let us know. We would love to be able to make sure as many people as possible are able to stay in touch with us, take advantage of our webinars, our support desk, and all the resources and products and things that we have out there. You can also stay in touch with us on LinkedIn and all of those channels. So thank you guys so much. I'm glad to have been able to join you today and learn a little bit more about FIMS from Robyn. She's such an expert in that area. I will be getting an email out to everyone with the recording today. The recording of today. The email will probably go out Thursday or Friday of this week. So thank you all so much. Glad to have you and hope to see you again on a future webinar.